So that's your ballistics menu. Last and not least, we're going to have the accuracy first menu. If you don't see that and you have the elite ballistics, you need to update your firmware, one, and you need to go back to your menu and come back down to system and accuracy first and ensure that it's turned on. If it's not turned on, if it's turned off, you won't see it. So turn it on and go back to the ballistics menu, scroll down to the bottom and then go up by 3 and there's your accuracy first. Hit enter and understand that it's all going to be blank and it's going to happen every single time you update your environment because it's based off of environment, bullet data, and muzzle velocity. But once you build those things in here, once I go to my gun and I build a gun, I get a good velocity, a good bullet data, and I go into my environment and I update that as well and I turn it on lock. I can go back down to accuracy first and it'll say quick win. Well, if you're trying to do quick win, there's some math you can do like build your gun, update your environment, program your Kestrel for 500 yards or meters. I prefer meters. And then from there, find 0.5 mils of wind with spin drift turned off. Once you do that, wherever you can get as close as you can to 0.5, that wind speed one number, say if it's 4, equals a quick win number of 4. Well, in this case, you don't have to do that math. You just go down to calculate, hit go, and the Kestrel is going to pop it out for you. It's going to say 4.5 for this gun and this density altitude with this ballistic coefficient. If I hit back, wind dot, if I'm running a Trimmer 3 or a Trimmer Series reticle with a wind dot, and I want to know what my wind dot values are. I know with the 308, it's usually a 4, with a Win Mag, it's usually a 4. With a 300 PRC, it's usually a lot higher. With a 22 long rifle, it might be a 12. It just depends on your velocity, your bullet composition or coefficient, and then your velocity. So if I want to computate my wind dot for that reticle, Todd Hodnett and Colby Hodnett have done the math and they put it in the Kestrel with applied ballistics and Kestrel, and you can simply go into hit calculate, and then from there it's going to tell us that each wind dot represents 3.4 miles per hour, which means every other wind dot is going to be 3.4 times 2, so 6.8 miles per hour for the second dot, which is really cool. Speed drop. All right, the next thing we're going to talk through in the accuracy first menu is speed drop. Speed drop is an awesome feature, and it's one of the most beneficial tools that I've learned from accuracy first. I've been lucky to go down to Pampa, Texas, and take the accuracy first syllabus twice now, and I highly recommend it for anyone watching this. If you want to enhance your education to the next level, I highly recommend getting out there and learning from them. But speed drop is essentially a way that allows us to get a rapid shot on target with enough accuracy and effectiveness to hit the target first shot impact. However, because it is speed drop, it is sacrificing a little bit of precision or accuracy with your dope. What do I mean by that? Well, to shoot fast, you have to know very little, but then you ultimately have to get a elevation on your gun. Again, we used to talk about dope or data on previous engagement compared to now the applied ballistics calculations, or the ABCs as I call them. And think back when I was in sniper school, I had to remember the dopes for every single yard line from 0 to 1,000. So I know that 0 or 100 was 0, 200 is 0.5, 300 is 1.2, 400 is 2.2, all the way out to a grand where 1,000 where it was 10.7. The numbers in between that, say 950, wasn't something burnt into my memory. But even if it was, well, what happens when you change velocity in your ammunition or you change your weapon? It's a lot to try to remember, and speed drop provides a tool to where you don't have to remember everything. You just got to remember one number. So let's talk about it. Before we do the speed drop, I'm going to go back up into our gun menu, and I'm going to update the velocity from 2746 back to a realistic number for a 308 shooting a 175 SMK out of a 20-inch barrel, and that's probably between 2640 and 2670. For the sake of this, I'm just going to go with 2670. All right, Again, we would want to update our environment, but we'll leave that to where it's at right now. Go back down to accuracy first. And again, since I updated the velocity, everything else is blanked out, and that's fine, but we'll go to speed drop. And I talked about accuracy versus speed, or precision versus speed. The first thing to understand is if I hit enter on speed drop, I can change my error from 0.02 mils to 0.01. Notice that's the only options you get, 0.1 or 0.2 mils per error. They don't allow you to go, say, 0.3 or 0.4 mils because that's a very large miss at extended ranges. So I like to leave mine on 0.2, and that gives me a little bit of buffer room, and it extends my range fan a little bit. Now from here, what I would do is come down to calculate, and I would hit go. When I hit calculate, it's telling me up top, my speed drop number is 1.8, and we'll discuss what that means here in just a second. 1.8 is the number that we will utilize to get our elevation between the ranges of 199 or 200 and 651 yards. Notice this can also work for meters, but to do that I'd have to go back up here to the target menu, hit enter, change my range to meters, come back down to accuracy first, go back to speed drop, go back down to calculate, hit go, and it will calculate it again. Now notice that I'm at 128 meters to 558. So same thing, different numbers, ultimately the same thing. So this is telling us the range that this will work at because the bullet is, again, on a trajectory path. And it will be a little bit off at the very beginning and a little bit off at the very end and perfect at a few different places and slightly off in the center. But it will never be off by more than 0.2 mils. So the way this works is we have a speed drop number of 1.4. This works from 128 to 558. So let's do it like this. Let's just say we have a target at 500 meters. So target is at 500 meters. And our speed drop number was 1.4. So what we're going to do is take the first number, 5, and that's essentially your range in hundreds, and we're going to minus 1.4 from it. So what I like to do is 5 minus 1 becomes 4, and then we got to subtract another 0.4 from it, or we could do 5 minus 1.4. Either way, what we're going to end up getting is 3.6. 3.6 plus 1.4, just double check, would be 5.